Welcome to White Mountain's Sunday broadcast. Today I'm going to be talking about hierarchical methods for disciples. This is such a beautiful talk this morning, and I think I could say even a bit exceptional, because I'm going to be sharing some personal experiences that not only I've experienced but others as well, and yet the population, the humanity as a whole no longer experiences such events, which is actually too bad, because we need to get back into, as a society, even as a family, times that are sacred, where money is set aside, disagreements are set aside, debates are set aside, opinions are set aside, and we all come together in the name of the Most High and what that Most High represents to us on the physical experience. Physical/spiritual experience. So today's talk is designed to be fairly short, so we'll remember everything. When I became a member of the ashram of my spiritual teacher, at the first meeting, the first experience I had with the group meeting, I noticed that when the leader came into the meeting room, everyone stood respectfully and beautifully, concentrating solely on the leader. Now just imagine you can put your own self in a situation like that, or perhaps you've been in a sacred space like that, and it will bring the memory back to that event. And if you haven't, like I said, use your imagination and put yourself in a meeting like that, where everyone stood respectfully and beautifully, concentrating solely on the leader. So that leader represented a station in life, represented a position on the ladder of hierarchy of life. And we, as members, in this case, of that ashram, were acknowledging the position, the role that a leader has in relationship to hierarchy. As the leader approached, everyone put their right hand over their heart and bowed at a 90-degree angle. I learned that bending at this angle was significant, because it meant that we were respecting the leader both hierarchically, horizontally, and of course vertically, which is hierarchically. While everyone was standing, I realized that the threads of energy were going from each member's head to the leader's head. And I wondered, why was that? How could that be? I had never experienced anything like that. So what was going on? What was I seeing? What I was seeing was the leader's head was actually so enlarged that it was radiating out to the membership. This is a phenomenon that occurs when a leader is connecting with higher forces. When the members put their hands over their hearts and bowed, the energy from their hearts went to the heart of the leader. The energy circulated throughout their entire aura, and then radiated back to the members with a little additional energy. That energy is the linkage with the result of the linkage with higher forces. Higher forces took the members' energy, circulated it, refined it, and then gave it back to them 100% more pure than they initially gave. Isn't that beautiful? Everyone remained standing until the leader sat down. Once he sat himself, then everyone sat down in unison. As the ashramic leader spoke, his consciousness was so enlarged and united with all his listeners that there was a synchronization between those who listened and the one who spoke. Such a leader flows with creativity. If you've ever been part of such an experience, you will never forget it. And it will stay with you forever. And the thing is, even though you may not have experienced it on the earth plane, you can also experience it subjectively in your dreams as you travel to the supermundane worlds. You can have experiences attending ashramic classes like this. It is reflection and echo of ashramic meetings going on in the supermundane world. Such meetings stay with us with our heart forever. The energies of these experiences become a fountain of beauty for your future. These experiences accelerate the evolution of your soul. So you want to have these experiences. You want to think about them. Write poetry. You know, even if you're not a poet, write poetry anyway. Using your imagination, thinking about what it would be like to attend such events. Because these experiences do elevate and help and accelerate the evolution of your soul, and the ultimate purpose underlying these experiences is to increase your desire to be of service to humanity and to hierarchy, to both humanity and hierarchy. What's so sad is that today's disciples do not know the value of their worth. They become so swallowed in the day-to-day life of politics, making a living, disputes, personality issues, even health issues that all the normal process of difficulties in our life, if we're not careful, walking as we walk or travel this path of discipleship, if we are not careful, we are going to be swallowed by this snake of life. And this snake is a venomous snake, and it will poison us. And with such poison, we're not going to have these beautiful, elevating events. Disciples do not know such things about themselves because they do not respect who they are. When people do not respect themselves, they will be unlikely to respect their parents, teachers, or leaders. I remember when I was young, and my dad and I would always go to church together. I just loved being with him. I just loved the minister. Everybody loved the minister. To even speak with this minister, we felt honored. And then I remember going off to college and missed my dad terribly. And I would attend churches, in the college town. And it was just nothing like what I had grown up in. And so during holidays, I'd come back. Well, by that time, back home with Dad and Mom. And by that time, that minister had retired. But a new, younger version of that minister joined us, and he was so dynamic, so incredibly uplifting about life that it's like everything kind of faded away in that church. All the people faded away, and it was replaced with a sacred space between ourselves and those dynamic ministers. And we all just had such a respect for them. I don't think that's there any longer. I don't see it. People respect money. They respect their grocery stores. They respect their cars and their houses. But I think they have set aside what we really need to align and respect ourselves with these days, especially if we are disciples. We must teach our children how to respect not only themselves, but their brothers and sisters, their parents, their grandparents, and godparents. They must take them to spiritual meetings, especially when they are teenagers. If they do not take the time, as these young ones grow up in society, abusing and disrespecting the basic values of life, they will have lost the beautiful essence of their childhood. Instead, they're going to be children who wasted their lives. The hierarchical principles of behavior that mold and regulate are based on the science of energy. The science of energy. The teacher sits at the top of the triangle or circle because of the circulation of energy. You see, the circulation of energy affects space, affects the environment, and affects you. An initiate shares a beautiful story. In one temple, the initiate said we had a sanctuary that was very beautiful and mysterious. It was a cave. When the leader appeared, we would all prostrate ourselves before him. Prostrate ourselves before him. At first, the initiate said, I thought it was a very hypocritical way to act. But after observing this practice for a while, I discovered that the teacher, the leader, transferred to us all the positive electricity which the disciple could control by grounding themselves. I learned that the energy could circulate throughout the disciple's aura because they were grounded. But if disciples do not ground themselves, there is no electricity. So you might ask yourself, how do I ground myself? Especially when you're in a high spiritual environment, when you are studying hierarchical teaching, when you meditate every day, when you strive to practice on this path the exercises that bring about self-perfectment, all those are actually a process of grounding yourself, but the strongest element of grounding yourself is serving others. They all work together. So we could even say that serving others is the keynote to a spiritual environment. And as we travel on this path of exercises of self-perfectment, meditation, hierarchical teaching, and so forth, that's the music that we play or express or manifest through our service. When the teacher or the leader enters the room to speak with you, you should stand and show your respect. The same is true for your parents. If you are walking with your teacher, you should walk at least 1 or 2 feet behind, according to your rank. Of course, we don't do these things, particularly in this country, but we should try to find some kind of adaptation that will demonstrate to our parents, to our teachers, that we respect them. The initiate continued their story. We used to do this when teachers would come down from the Himalayas, from deep within the mountain and caves. Once, a very old man who looked like a total skeleton came, and his energy immediately shook all of us. We immediately hit the floor. One cannot bypass a higher link to get to the next higher link. A person cannot go directly to Sana Kamara with their complaint. They must go to the next higher link. The next higher link will take it to the next link, your complaint to the next link, and so forth. For example, the disciple takes their complaint about a group member to the teacher. The teacher takes it to the disciple's higher self, and there is a discussion. If the disciple is advanced, the teacher takes the complaint, to the master or a senior initiate. See, this is the hierarchical process. We must also show respect to women in similar ways. I can remember how men would stand up when a woman entered the room when I was young, or he would hold a door open for her. Whereas today it is uncommon to see these things happen. Opening the car door for her, pulling out the table's chair and helping her sit down. All of these little actions are signs of respect for the woman. The mother must be respected to the highest degree, just like the group's teacher or leader. Of course, the teacher or the leader must be respectable. That's a given. But it's an important given, an important point. The teacher or leader must be respectable. If they are not, then what should we do? We leave. If we don't have someone in the role of the teacher or leader to respect, we leave. Otherwise, we are devaluing ourselves. In many esoteric schools, God is not described as a male energy. The teaching tells us that God has no form. Certainly, Holy Scriptures describe God as a father, but indeed, he is both father and mother. God has the compassion of a woman. Here's another beautiful story. The initiate said, in the monastery I attended, the highest ranked individual there was the teacher's mother. One day, the teacher entered the room. We stood and gave the salutation and sat down. A few minutes later, his mother entered the room. He went to her, kneeled, and kissed her hand. She sat in his chair and talked with us for 2 hours. Imagine that. The teachings talk to us about Taurus. It says they didn't or don't want to be known, always preferring to do their work without recognition. They are not ambitious. They are totally dedicated to their service work and are often recognized as humble servants. Humble servants by those whose work becomes world renowned. But those whose hearts are externalized recognize them as Taurus, as members of the hierarchy. And this is a very important phrase to remember, which is the externalization of your heart. To recognize a Tara, to recognize an Arhat, your own heart must be externalized. We have learned that masters do not always take male appearance. This is so interesting. Now we understand why that was. Women masters were so clever that they did not pollute their auras with the base thought forms that our male masters do. Women masters are always in the backyard, working with interplanetary, solar, and cosmic dimensions without letting anyone else know that they are doing it. For example, you would never see Helena Rourke in any leadership position. It was her husband, Nicholas, who organized cultural movements and discussed peace policies with various nations, including President Roosevelt. So where was Helena? At home, with the door closed, in contact with the higher worlds. The teachings tell us that there are between 35 and 40 women masters whose names you have never heard because they are very advanced and clever enough not to reveal their names. Women today are leading esotericism and wisdom in the world. Do you see this? If you do not, you are blind. Your ego has pulled the curtain across your eyes and you cannot see. You are deluded into thinking in the past. Women especially, women disciples especially, must learn to understand this. Helena Blavatsky, Helena Rourke, and Alice Bailey started 3 New Age hierarchical centers, bringing in the whole teaching. Now, today, many women are doing this very same thing. Christ, we are told, was a student of Mary. When Christ left, it was Mary who organized the church. She was the head of everything. She was the mother of many saviors. She kept them in her room for 9 months and taught them. When they were born and finished their work, she continued on. I really hope you remember this talk today. Take it to your heart, take it into your own heart, and let it become a reality to you, not a story, not just another Sunday talk, but a real experience today of the experiences of others and what the teaching has brought to us and what we must continue on. So Mother was known, that Mother Mary was known as Isis. Maya was Lord Buddha's mother. Miriam, she was even the mother of Hiawatha and of many saviors of South America. She is a universal figure, even one of the Pleiades. See, you're not taught these things today. We have to go find them, in esoteric schools. And even then, we have to keep it private and secret because the general population is so coarse, is so crass, that heart is not externalized in full yet. And they will belittle what you've been given and what history tells us. Earlier, I said that parents must teach their children how to respect themselves, their parents and teachers, and so forth. Now I am saying that fathers must teach their children to respect their mothers. Fathers must teach their children to respect their mothers, because there has been so much disrespect of women. Children imitate that disrespect, and especially daughters. When they grow up, they have lost faith in themselves. Their faith has been broken. They must restore faith in themselves. So women have been left behind. We must bring them forward so that they're equally respected and loved. The teaching tells us if a woman was put in charge of humanity whose consciousness thinks that women are inferior slaves, it would not listen to her. The hierarchy is an executive branch. It is very businesslike. Listen to this, they assign a man to the task because humanity will only listen to men at this stage of development. Pitiful. This is slowly, it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. However, things are slowly changing, and more women now are attaining leadership positions. It was a dark psychology that kept women in darkness, saying that women were nothing but machines to bring in children, wash clothes, and to be men's slaves. This has been the psychology for thousands of years and continues in some religions and countries today. So how can we expect our daughters and women who have been enslaved for so long to suddenly act as if they are free? If you cage a bird for a long time and then open the door, it will not leave its cage. It does not want to fly away. This is what has happened to many women. We cut their wings and made them slaves. New age people must be transformed and recycled. Women are going to stand in dignity, equal with men. Positive and negative poles create tremendous, tremendous light and success. Currently, it is in America where women are becoming recognized for their true beauty and worth. The American spirit is really beautiful, but it has been polluted by certain elements which must be cleaned. But essentially, American spirit is beautiful and it is feminine. I don't know if you knew that or not, but the spirit of America is feminine. America is sixth ray, which is feminine, and second ray, which is also feminine. The teaching indicates that this is why American women are further ahead than women in any other country, even England, which is why the New Age will be created here if women stand in their role. A student asked their teacher about men, asking, well, what is the male's role? The teacher answered saying, a man is equal. A man is a woman's equal, her helper. If she is singing and needs a piano, give her the money for the piano. As they support us, we must support them. It is yin and yang, night and day. One is not superior to the other. Both are equal. A woman's mechanism is more complex than a man's because she has a more complicated consciousness and more complex mechanism. So today's talk, let me give you the title again just to remind you. These are hierarchical methods for disciples. So if you have an opportunity, please, please go to the White Mountain website where you can go down to the bottom of their page, their homepage, find the YouTube icon, go to click on the little YouTube icon and go to this talk and make notes and just bring it into your heart. I just truly believe it is the role of the disciple that will bring the balance between feminine and masculine. And let us take that to task.